Hey, so if you're running an Etsy store like me, you probably heard how important it is to spread the word after you've created a new product. It's not enough to create a great Etsy listing. No, afterwards, you have to go in and create all kinds of social posts, Facebook, Instagram, Pinterest, you name it. So there's a lot of tedious work that has to happen after you've done the actual work. And I don't like to do tedious work. I like to automate things. So what if I told you there is a way to totally automate the spreading of the word part of this? So all you need to do is focus on what you really want to do, create great Etsy products that sell well, and an automation will take care of all the social media posting. In this video, I'd like to show you how you can set this up yourself with a tool called make.com for free. There will be 3 versions on how you can set this up, a super basic one, a mid one, and a fancy one. And yes, you can do social media marketing inside of Etsy, but I find the post quality a bit lacking. It's still tedious work you have to do, and if I can automate things that I don't have to worry about, then I will always do this. And please let me show you how you can do this yourself. It's really easy to do. Just follow the steps in this tutorial. Oh, and one other thing before we get started. I've watched other tutorials on how to do this, and they all leave out a very important step. I'm going to tell you which one this is, but the way I understand it, most of the other tutorials don't really work. Mine does. All right, so this is what we're going to create. We're going to watch an Etsy store for new products that have been created. And if a new product has been created, we will create a Pinterest pin, a Facebook post, an Instagram post. You could also add Twitter or Tumblr or other services that you need to this, totally automated. This is a tool called make.com that you can use yourself. I've left a link in my bio if you want to try it out. It is free to use in the basic version. But first of all, why are we doing this in the first place? Because this is what you need to do if you want to post from inside of Etsy. You know, you have at least 10 steps that you need to go through. You could use the built-in functionality from Etsy here. You just go to marketing, and there you will find social media. And if you click on create a post, it will take you to a dialog like this. But here is the first gripe that I have with that. The caption it generates is really generic. You know, it's the product title that might work well on Etsy, but it really looks like crap on social media. So you have to go in and create your own caption now. And the next thing, it doesn't post to Instagram automatically. Why? No idea why they don't do this. You know, I have to somehow mark this now for publishing on Etsy. I have to go to my phone. It's a whole mess. No way, we're not going to do this. My automation can post to Instagram. It will be much better. So what do we need to do? So the first thing we need to do is we need to grab something called an RSS feed from our store. And what's this? We just go to the store and we're going to add a slash and the words RSS behind it. And what will this give us? It will give us this list of all the active products that we have in our Etsy store with the product title and the product description and a link to that product. With this information, we can jump into Make and create our first very, very basic scenario. All right, so that first example, I'm going to set up from scratch so you can get a feel on how these Make automations work. So what you do is you add certain modules in a chain, and these will do certain things. So let's add the first module. Clicking here, and the first thing we need to do is we need to search for RSS. This will give us the RSS module, and what we will take is we will take the watch RSS feed items. What that does is really what it says. It watches an RSS feed, and the RSS feed is the one that we got from our website. It's just the link of our Etsy store with the /RSS at the end. Next thing we can set is the number of items it should return. So it could pull any number of items from the feed, but we only want to post about one product at a time, so not to drown our social channels. So we're going to leave that at 1. All right. The next thing you need to set is from when on it should look for new products. So if you are using this in a live scenario, you would leave this as from now on, and it will trigger every time a new product is uploaded into your Etsy store. Now we can add a second module. So we just click here and we search for Facebook. As you can see, there's a lot of modules to choose from. It works best with groups and pages. So I'm going to select pages here, and then you will see a long list of actions that you can do with Facebook pages. What we want to do is we want to create a post. So we're going to select this. And if this is the first Facebook module that you connect, it will ask you to add a Facebook connection up here. I've already done this. So I can select a page that I want to post to. I'm going to choose my cute cat page just for demo purposes. And the last thing we need to do is create a message. For this, I'm just going to use the title, and it will show me on the right side over here what the title and all the other data is that the first module, the RSS module, has already pulled, right? So I can see a preview basically of what the last RSS item would look like. I have the product title, I have the URL, I have the description and so on. So I can just use as the message the title, and for the link, I can use the URL to my Etsy shop. And just like this, we've set this up. Now you can save it. And if I move myself out of the way, we can run this. It will trigger the RSS item and it will ask us where it should start. If we don't add any new products at this moment, we need to tell it where to start. So I'm going to change this to select the first RSS item just to have some training data here. So, and with this changed, it will create our first Facebook post automatically. And this is what it looks like. We have the product title up here, we have the link to the Etsy store, and we're done. So just like that, we've created our first make.com scenario. So one thing to note is that little watch icon over here. If you click on it, you will see it is set to at regular intervals every 15 minutes. So what that says, it will check the RSS feed every 15 minutes for new items. This is not something that we want to do because every action inside of Make consumes a credit. And if you run out of credit, you have to pay more. If this triggers like every hour, it will consume 24 operations every day. It will probably be enough to run this like once a day or even on set times of the week. If you want to schedule your social media postings to, I don't know, Saturday morning, for example, you can do so. So I'm going to change that to every day at a certain time. So the last thing you need to do in order to get this running is click down here and turn the scheduling to on. And from now on, it will check your Etsy store every morning at a certain time and create a Facebook post. Ta-da! Now this is already slightly better than the built-in Etsy functionality because it runs automatically in the background, but it's still as ugly as the Etsy posts and it only goes to Facebook. Now let's see how we can change this up to also create Pinterest pins or Instagram posts. Now here I am in a second scenario that looks slightly more complex, but don't worry, I will take you through it step by step. It starts the same way as we did before, but now we need to do something that the other tutorials have skipped, and I'll show you exactly what I mean. So for that, I'm going to jump at the end of the scenario to the Pinterest creation pin. I'm just going to run you through it quickly. It works the same as the Facebook post we created. You need to connect to your Pinterest account. It needs to be a Pinterest business account, of course. All automating tools like social media scheduling tools require a professional account on the other end. If you have created a Pinterest account, it will ask you for an image. And this is where the other tutorials have failed, because what the other tutorials have only done is get to the Etsy product from the RSS feed and not the image URLs. And in this case, you actually need the image URL because this requires an actual image to be transferred to the Pinterest pin that you want to create. I will show you how you get this URL in a second. I just wanted to tell you that this is a very important step. Where do we get the image URL from? If you remember the RSS feed, it contained the product title and it contained an Etsy link, right? Like this one here. And in this Etsy link, there is a very important thing that we need in a second. This number here, the ID of the product that you have created inside of Etsy. We're going to cut out this number from the Etsy URL. And the way to do this is very straightforward. We're going to add a module called a text parser. Up here, there is something very cryptic. Now, this is called a regular expression. If you are a programmer, you will know what this means. If you're not a programmer, don't worry about it. The only thing you need to know about this is it will search a text for numbers, basically. Yeah? We will give it the URL from the step before, right? So this is the RSS feed watching step that we have before. There is the URL, and in this URL back here is the number that we wanted to have. And what this thing up here does is tell this text parser to only look for numbers and extract the numbers that it finds. You should set everything else like this. So global match, only find one, case sensitive to no, multi-line no, single line no. Always remember to click on OK if you change something, otherwise the change will not be saved in the module. All right, so I've already run this once so you can see what it does. And what it does is this. We input the URL from the RSS step and we got back the number inside of this RSS step, which is perfect because in the next step, we're going to use an Etsy module, and in the Etsy module, we're going to use the get listing action. Just like before, you connect this first to your Etsy account, and then in this case, the get listing action needs a listing ID, which we already have on hand. It is the ID that we extracted from the RSS feed. So we send a listing ID to Etsy and we get back a whole bunch of information about the Etsy product there. Listing ID, the shop ID, the title, the description in a very long form, all sorts of timestamps, the URL, and most importantly, which is the reason why we're doing all this, we are getting the images in the store. So in this case, I have 3 images on my listing. For each image, I get a lot of information that I don't really want, but what I want is this here, down here. So here I have the image URL, and if I copy and paste that into a new tab, you will see that this gives me the image URL of an Etsy product that I have created, which is perfect because this is what we need to create the pins, the Instagram post, or any other nice kind of social media post. All right, now that we have the image URL, what's all this stuff that we have here? So, as you might remember, so we're getting back 3 images, and I think you can have 20 or so images with your Etsy listing. So the next module I've added is called an iterator. And again, you could always click the add module button and then search for the word iterator, it will show up. And what the iterator does is it iterates through a list of items. And as we saw in this example, the images are a list of images, right? So this just goes through every single image in that image list. Now, one important thing to note, I've added a filter between this step and this step. You can do this by just clicking this filter symbol and then set up a filter. And the filter I've set up is called only one. Why? Because as we've seen, there can be 20 pictures in here. And if I would run this without a filter, it would create 20 different posts for every single picture, which is not what we want. We want to create one single post with 1 or more pictures, right? So we need to have a filter in here that will limit everything that comes afterwards to just one execution, to just one run. And to do this, we are going to look at the image rank. What is this? So again, back into the answer that we got from Etsy here. In the images, there is a lot of information, but there is also a rank. It's basically the order in which the images show up in your Etsy listing. So we use rank to only run everything after this once, because there is always a rank 1. So this filter should only let things through that are called rank 1, all right? The next module we have is called a router, and you can already see what it does. It takes a single input and divides it up into 3 or even more branches. Oh, if you want to prettify your scenario, by the way, you can just click that auto align button here and it will line everything up very nicely. So now we've done all the busy work. Now to the fun part. Let's create a nice social media post. For example, let's create a nice Pinterest pin. We've been here before. You've connected your Pinterest business account. You now know where this image URL comes from. And in this drop down here, you could also select a video ID, for example, if you have a video on Etsy, but we're going to stick it with images for this tutorial here. So you're going to select image URL, and then you have a choice of URLs that you can use. There are 3-4 different sizes of images that Etsy provides. I went with the biggest one that we have, which was probably the best looking one. All right, so let's leave this at empty here. You have to select the board that you want to post to. So if you click in here, it will give you a list of all the boards that you have created. I'm just going to select this one. The next thing we need to do is we need to create a pin title. For this, we will just use the title that we got back from the Etsy listing, but we need to shorten it a little bit. These Etsy titles can run a bit long, and there is a limit of 100 characters for a Pinterest title. So what I did is I went over here, and here you have something called functions. And what this function substring does is it takes a string, basically a text, and you tell it how long this text should be. So I said, take this text, use everything from the beginning of the text to the character 90, right? And lastly, but most importantly, down here, we will again post the URL to our Etsy product that will then be added to the Pinterest pin that we are creating. All right, so let's run this once and see what happens. But before we do this, I want to unlink my Facebook and Instagram action down here because I only want to create a Pinterest title and see what happens first. So let's click run once and we will see the entire operation worked. So let's check out the new pin it created. And here it is, the pin that we just created in all its glory. Just like with the Facebook example before, this is as ugly and as unenticing as the automation that would be built into the Etsy store social media marketing function, right? It is still the same stupid product title and description. There's a lot of stuff in here that really doesn't make a lot of sense, so we want to change that up. But it is working automatically, and most importantly, you can now set up the sharing to Instagram, something that Etsy for some reason can't do automatically. You can do this here with this make automation that you just created. So let's connect the router to the Instagram for Business post. And this is the module for Instagram with the action create a photo post. So let's just maybe look at the Instagram module once. So you have a lot of options that you can use. You can create reels, you can create video posts, carousels with multiple pictures and so on. For this example, I'm going to stick with create photo post. Just like before, you need to connect your Instagram that you want to post to. You want to choose the page, and then this is where the other tutorials fails because it needs a photo URL. But luckily we have these photo URLs in the iterator action. Again, I'm going to choose the biggest image that I have. So then you can add a caption and tags, whatever you like, but I'm just going to leave it like this. And just like this, you've done what the Etsy engineers couldn't do, is connect your Etsy store with your Instagram account. So again, just looking back at that trigger one more time, it will run once a day, it will get the latest product from the Etsy store, it will get the image URLs, and it will create a Pinterest pin, a Facebook post, an Instagram post, and you could add others. You could add a Tumblr post. You could, in theory, also create a tweet, but there is a slight problem here, not on make.com's end, but on Twitter's end. If you want to post automatically to a Twitter account or an X account, whatever it's called now, you need a developer account with Twitter, and those cost money. And so, with just a few clicks, you've achieved more than the engineers at Etsy have managed to pull off. But wait, there's more, because I want to show you one last thing, how you can improve the quality of your posts dramatically. And for that, we will turn to our friend ChatGPT. Okay, because so far we've only been able to use the Etsy product titles for our posts, and I think that makes them look kind of lame. So let's change that. All right, because where would we change that? Well, first of all, here in this Pinterest action, we could use a different title, or in this Instagram post, we could also add a caption text. So how do we do this? Quite easily. We just add over here a ChatGPT module. What? You can use ChatGPT inside of a scenario? Yes. You just click on add a module and you search for ChatGPT or OpenAI, and it will give you an OpenAI module. And with this, you can do all sorts of crazy things, but we will focus on a prompt in this case. So what we need to do is we need to pick the create a completion action here. Now, unlike before, here you don't really connect to OpenAI, but what you need to do is you input an API key. So what you need to do is you go to platform.openai.com, and on the left here you have API keys where you click and you just create a new key and you copy that over into make.com. It will save it for you so you can use it again every time you're using it in a ChatGPT model. All right, so if you have done that, what you need to do is go down here and select the model that you want to use. I'm going with GPT-4. This will always get me the latest GPT-4 model, which is the best one that they have. And down here, where it says messages, you will create the prompt that you would usually give ChatGPT. So over here, you need to select the role. I'm going with system, and then you just enter your prompt. And here you can go nuts, but this is the prompt that I was using. You're my social media expert and so on and so on. Please create engaging captions for me. Here is the description of the newly published product, because I will be using the product description inside of Etsy to give ChatGPT something to write about. So how do we choose that? Quite easy, just click once, and then you go down here to the description of the Etsy product, and you just click once, and it will then add the entire Etsy product description to the prompt you are asking ChatGPT. Now to test that, I want to unlink the ChatGPT action and the router so that the posts don't get created immediately. I'm moving myself out of the way and I'm running this once. All right, I'm running it once. You can see ChatGPT is doing its thing. All right, ChatGPT is done. I forgot to add the filter, so it ran 3 times, so don't get confused by that. So let's look at what ChatGPT has written for us. But as I said, it ran 3 times. It will just run once with you guys. So let's look at what ChatGPT has written. So let's check the first result it has given us. This was the input that we passed. Here in messages content, you will see the prompt that you have created, right? The prompt that we've written, and then the product description from the Etsy store. Now, let's look at what it came back with. So the answer from ChatGPT is down here in output under choices, 1 message content. I don't know why they bury this deep, but that's the way to do it. So here we have our Pinterest caption, we have an Instagram caption, and we have an Instagram story caption that it came up with. And these things we can use inside of our posting, and I think they sound much nicer than what we had before. All right, and having all these captions in one answer saves a bit of credits, but it is not really the easiest way to put this into the postings that we're going to create. So let's change the prompt up to please create 1 caption for 1 Instagram post. Running this again, and this time we have a nice Instagram caption that we can use. So let's connect that to our Instagram. I'm reconnecting the router, but I'm linking the Pinterest and the Facebook action. And over here in our Instagram, we still have the image URL, but here in Caption, we can include now the answer that we have just gotten from ChatGPT. So this is here in the ChatGPT action in choices, messages, content. Here you see the beginning of the caption that we just saw. And if we enter that and click save and run it once, the run was successful. And here we have our new Instagram post with the image from Etsy and the new much improved product caption that we created. And of course, you can tweak the prompt. There's a million ways on how you can improve that still. I'm just going to leave you at that. And you can, of course, also create the Pinterest pin title, the Pinterest pin description, and all sorts of other things. Now, if you need multiple ChatGPT prompts, the easiest way to do this is just to right-click on that module and hit clone. And this gives you just another one that you can then go into and tweak the prompt, but everything else will be set up the same way. All right, so I hope you got some idea on how this automation is relatively easy to set up. It is very powerful indeed, and it will save you a ton of work from having to do all this posting manually. It certainly has saved me a ton of work. And if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I'd be happy to help you to set this up for yourself. Once again, if you want to give make.com a try, there's a link in the bio. And finally, I know everybody says this, but I have a very small channel and you would help me out tremendously if you could give it a like. Thank you very much.